Do you catch yourself singing it in the shower? I do sometimes, I have to say.
You know what, Dan? You wrote that theme
I
song. It's
did.
very catchy. I catch myself singing it. I know you've made different versions of it. I like the chill coffee
Yeah.
house version that we play in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
beginning
Well,
of the
that's the
show.
real one. That's the perfect one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love it. I love it. It's
So here we
catchy.
are. Here we are. It's
Welcome,
New Year's Day.
welcome to the Heeb Goy show.
Heeb Goy. We're talking about the theme of today will be predictions for 2024. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And both of us are kind of you might say pessimists. I think that's a fair characterization of us. Wouldn't you say?
I have traditionally been a pessimist for a very long time. I'm working on it. I have been working on it the past couple of years. So I try not to live my life that way, but it is there. And
Yeah, you
I
can.
cannot, I can't, it's my true nature, although
Yeah.
I work on it. Like I hide it like if I'm a vampire, you want to do certain things to hide your true nature, but you're a vampire. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty pessimistic, but I'm working on it.
But this represents what we think of the new year, basically, just this dystopian,
This
that's
picture that you're
yeah.
posting here?
Yeah, I think that's when I think 2024, that's what I think. That's what I'm looking at in my
Yeah.
head. So we don't want to bum out the audience. So, we'll take it off.
Oh, we'll bum out the audience
Yeah, well, that's coming.
regardless.
So this is a little different kind of episode. We're basically going to do a few predictions for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we would start with something kind of fun.
Fun.
Celebrity deaths.
Celebrity deaths, Dan, are always fun.
So the way we did it was we each are going to do three, what we've referred to as geezers. So these are people over 70. And then we're
Right.
going to have one younger person under 60 that would be considered a surprise.
Right.
'Cause they're not old. So
Do we have any action on this? Like, because you picked three, you picked four, I picked four. I mean,
Yeah.
what are the repercussions? We're guessing that they are going to die in 2024.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a lot of predictions in this show. This is the first segment. I think yes, at the end of the year, at the end of 24, when we do our episode going into 25, we'll grade ourselves. How accurate were we? The
Right.
deaths are hard to predict. I mean,
They are, because like Henry Kissinger just lasted forever.
Yeah,
he
would
finally
never die.
kicked
He
and finally
refused.
died.
He refused. Yeah.
Well, the evil within him, kept him alive.
Crew, the unicorn blood. Yeah. So, anyway, let's start off with Bruce. We're gonna start off with the Goy, and
all right,
and spoiler alert. Let me remove this. This is Bruce's first. Go ahead. So let's talk about your first predictions. He was just here. He was just here in town where I live because his granddaughter graduated from the University of Florida. So,
I mean, I love this guy. I love all his movies. I love Shawshank Redemption. The guy's amazing. His voice is amazing. This guy is so talented. I love everything he's in. I picked this guy because he's my first pick out of the three old guys. He's 86. And I was scrolling around on social media. I think it was TikTok or something. I'm scrolling around and I saw like this quick video of him like walking from a building to a car. And it was just one of those visceral reactions. I looked at him, I'm like, oh, he's not long for this world. Like he was just like walking from a building to the car. Hey, Morgan, paparazzi's out there. Hey, Morgan, how's it going? And he was just like kind of like that Bill Burr impression of an old guy, like with the mouth open. I'm like, this motherfucker not going to last too long. So I just thought about that video that I saw and I picked him because I mean, I love the guy. And, old celebrities and guys like this, guys that have power and money, they tend to last forever because they have the resources to make themselves just hang around, right?
Yeah, Father Time's undefeated.
Father Time is undefeated, and I don't think he's going to last a year. That's my pick number one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 86, he's, over 10 years past average life expectancy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when I picked mine, I went for the geezers. I'm not trying to pick a 70-year-old. I went in the 90s and the 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
So
that's my number one pick.
I have no inside information. He was just here. I did see a picture of him, and I had the same reaction you did. I was like, wow.
Right?
Really
that's the whole reason I pick him is I'm not a numbers guy. I just kind of go, I'm a visual guy and I just sort of a vibes guy. And I was like, I don't know, man, this guy, that's my number one pick.
Okay. So let's move on to your next one. Always good when you're going over 90. Always good. Yeah.
My number 2 pick is Carol Burnett. I like Carol Burnett. I grew up, watching her show
Oh, me
because
too.
I'm old. I love her show and Tim Conway and all those guys. But like she's 90 and she recently was like on some award show or whatever, and Rose said, "Oh, look at Carol Burnett." And I was like, yeesh. Like, I'm looking at this picture here and she's got the makeup on and the fake teeth, but through those eyes, I see like the life spirit just waning. So that's why
you're hitting 90. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I refer to as a super geezer. That's
super geezer.
That's not just a geezer. That's a super geezer.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
90, man.
And then so I'm the son of a doctor. My father has 2 terms that I don't know if he coined, but I've used all the time. There's O sign. That's when you're out and you see an old person. They're like this.
The mouth open, like Bill Burr impression. Yeah,
that's O sign. O sign. And then there's the worst. The next stage is Q sign.
Oh, that's terrible with the O mouth and then the Q.
Yeah, the Q.
You inherited your father's sense of humor.
No, he's my father's kind of on the spectrum, but he's a doctor, so
aren't we all?
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. All right, so let's move to your next. Let's move to your next one. This is a bold one.
It's a bold. Okay, here I have a. Here's the deal with Sting. He's only 72, and you think, oh, that's pretty young. And there he is playing guitar. And
he looks better than we do, and we're 20.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't know whether this picture is from when he's 72. I don't know.
This is I pulled pictures from the past year. So yes.
Okay. So I mean, okay. Here's the deal with Sting. We used to listen to Howard Stern. That's how me and Dan met. And then, so, Sting was always on the Howard Stern show. And the reason I picked Sting, I think it's interesting because did he just recently play a concert somewhere? I guess he did, because here he is.
He still tours. I think this picture is from 2022, if I remember correctly.
But I just think that Sting, from what I remember, he's definitely, he's pulling out of the limelight. He might do a show now and again, but he is absolutely pulling out of the limelight because he sort of knows. And truth be told, I picked Sting. Like, this is sort of, I don't really think he's gonna. I just think it'd be wild if he did. And like, it's a long shot. This is my Hail Mary for the old guys. But I just kind of respect the guy. I respect anyone, also like Prince, who like would realize, okay, I'm old, I'm an entertainer, no one's looking for me anymore, I don't need to be on stage anymore. Although here he is on stage, whatever, it goes against my point. But I do like when old guys realize, look, and they get out of the limelight, they age with grace, they've made enough, they've done enough, there's no need. There's guys like, I loathe the Rolling Stones and how they're out there just touring all the time. Isn't that great? They're so talented. I'm like, no, they're not. No one needs to see them up there. I loathe, like, Bob Weir of Grateful Dead. Like, he's up there, and all these guys are so fucking old, and they're still touring, and it's like...
It's a fine line. It's a fine line. Me, I'm a big fan of 70s and 80s metal. And
oh, yeah. Dan goes to see these 80s metal bands, and he's up there watching these rockers who are 80 years old, and I'm like...
No, none of them are 80.
Very close.
No.
Extremely close.
No, they're in their 60s.
Yes, they are.
Most of them are in their 60s.
Please, they are not 60. Bruce Dickinson, how old is he? How old is Bruce Dickinson?
I'll look it up. He's like 60 something.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna eat your words right now.
He's like 69. He's very old, Bruce Dickinson.
65.
Really? All right, I ate my words. You're right. Okay.
Listen. I say this all the time. In the pantheon of that genre, there are very, very few acts anymore that A, are the original guys, B, can still play and sound good and are not piping in tracks like Kiss. Right?
True.
Very few. They exist. They're outliers. Okay. But Iron Maiden's one of them. Iron Maiden, those guys still play. They play live. It's no bullshit. They sound good. I mean, they don't sound like they did in 1980. No,
but respect. I get your point.
But they sound good. And there's a few bands that, and I'm seeing another one of those actually next month.
Oh my God, Wasp?
This month. No, I'm seeing Tesla.
Oh my God.
But those guys still sound good. They can still play. They play live. It's real. It's legit. And there's so few of those anymore. I mean, most of them.
I'm with you. I don't like it when, like when they're too old, like, okay. You've all seen these videos.
Genesis did a concert where Phil Collins was in a chair the entire thing.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That is absolutely unacceptable. And so the internet is filled with videos. They're great. I'm sure you've seen them with Axl Rose up there trying to sing.
Oh,
and it's amazing. And sometimes they isolate his voice, and also, the guy from
Vince Neil, Motley Crue.
Vince Neil is a big one.
Uh,
There's so many Vince Neil videos out there, and he's just like, it's a
uh,
nightmare. But it also comes with a different type of music. That look, I grew up like listening to punk rock, and like punk rock and hardcore. It was like songs of very energetic music, like way more just hardcore, right? Super fast, super angry. And these bands are out there doing the same thing. And the dudes are my age. They're 55 up there, maybe 60. Bands like DOA and things like this. And they're still touring. And, and people are like, hey, you want to go see DOA? And I'm like, absolutely not. It's 10 times worse than 80s metal because these are very fast songs. And, they're also songs about like hating your mother and hating the teacher. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go watch a fucking 55, 60-year-old fat guy struggling to play the fast chops and can't even move around the stage anymore, singing songs about how he hates his mom. I'm not doing it, And
whereas my stuff is evergreen. It's about, chasing chicks, or it's about, Maiden never really did that. Maiden did, wars and like, fun, kind of like medieval themes. They were all over the board, but like the 80s metal, like I will get shit on for this, but one of my favorite bands who got unfairly maligned during the era was Winger. Winger is one of the few. I mean, first of all, Kip Winger.
Dan taking a bold stance on Winger.
Kip Winger I believe he won a Grammy for like a score for a ballet or something like that. The dude is a classical composer. He was a dancer in New York. He's extremely talented. They were maligned because they came out. Beavis and Butthead really changed everything. They destroyed them. And it was sort of unfair because there's a million bands you could pick that were just poppy shit, right? But Winger, they're one of the few. They're one of the outliers that are still the same guys. They can still play. They sound good. And I felt bad for them because it really just wasn't fair. Those guys are good. They made good material. They're still making good material, which is awesome.
I feel bad because you're showing me this picture of Sting, and the whole reason I picked Sting is because I thought he wasn't performing at all anymore, and I thought he was like, and so like you're right, like I'm looking at this, I'm like, he absolutely looks better than me and you, absolutely. He goes to the gym, he's probably super healthy, and he's still probably fucking and having tantric sex and all this stuff. Okay, so and that ain't happening over here.
I'll say this: I happened upon recently one of the most recent shows the Police did, which was like 2008. So if you watch those videos, Sting looks so much better than Andy Summers. Andy Summers looks like an old geezer. And Sting looks amazing. Because this was 15 years ago, so Sting would have been in his late 50s. If you look,
but Sting is definitely one of these guys, though, that's doing.
It's hitting him. It's hitting him. Now. Yes,
that's why I picked him. That's why I picked him.
That's a good one. But your next one is my absolute favorite. So as I said, we're doing three geezers. And then one person under 60 who's young, who would be a surprise. And your next one is just amazing. And the picture is just, I laugh at it every time.
Okay. He's only 44. And my pick is Bam Margera, 44, of course, of Jackass fame. And so, I don't want to be too Debbie Downer on this part, but like, the guy is struggling with addiction, and I'm clean and sober 18 years and stuff. And if you know the whole story about all the Jackass crew, Johnny Knoxville got clean and sober. So did Steve-O. Steve-O is the big
clean now. Yep.
Super clean. But he is like, he was definitely going to die. Steve-O. I mean,
didn't one of them die?
A couple of them died.
Yeah.
A couple of them died, and they died from fucking addiction. When I used to watch this show, and I would watch this show in back when it was on, I was like, these dudes are all gonna die because they were all like glorifying doing dumb stuff and doing a lot of drugs and drinking. They were totally glorifying it. And I remember having a little bit of a cringe reaction going, I don't know if this is the best thing, right? But whatever. So anyway, a couple of them got clean and sober, and I've been watching videos the past couple years about Bam Margera. He makes these videos, and there's all this drama going around the whole Jackass crew about how this guy is out there. He's been arrested. He gets kicked out of restaurants. I don't know if you know all this, but Bam Margera has just been on a tear, a very much like a Charlie Sheen type tear, just raging in addiction, causing scenes in restaurants, screaming and yelling. getting together with like weird people and hanging out and trying to rap in studios. It's hysterical. He's an old, gross looking guy, kind of how I'm an old, gross looking guy. But he, you know, and but here's the deal. So I picked this guy because, you know, as a clean and sober person, I know, you know, not to be too serious, but I know what it's like to want to be clean and sober. To get to be clean and sober like Steve-O, you got to just want it and do it, right? You really has to come from within side. This guy is out there raging. He does not want to get clean and sober. But here's the thing. It just came out on the news that this guy just married. He just got engaged to his girlfriend of 6 months, some young chippy, right? And now he's been clean and sober for, I think, 3 months. And so I was reading these articles last night. Oh, Bam Margera, all better. Clean and sober for 3 months. Thanks to his, all better, right? Thanks to his new girlfriend. And there was this long ass article about how he says, you know, I'm all clean and sober now because of my new girlfriend. She keeps a routine for me. It's great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading this article, and it's supposed to be a feel-good article. And I'm reading it going, oh, he's absolutely going to die. He's absolutely going to die. And I feel like I have inside intel, inside baseball knowledge on this. Is because the reason he's getting clean and sober is because of this new chick. It's not because he wants to. He's still acting kind of a maniac, right? And he's like, oh, she is great for me. She sets my day. She sets my schedule. She tells me what to do. I'm like, this is the biggest red flag I've ever seen, because here's the deal. The first argument he has with this chick, he's going to go right back out there and be like, fuck this, because he's not getting clean and sober for the right reasons. It's going to fail. He's going to die this year. And so, I mean, that's terrible that I should share that. I hope it doesn't happen, you know.
We hope it happens, because that way you'd be right about something, and when we grade ourselves,
right? So let's throw out. You know what? Let me just think
about him to die. You're not hoping he dies, but if
he did, I would be able to be right, and I would. Right. So it's definitely worth a human's life, right? Let's have a human being's life go to trash, so that I can say I told you so. Well, that seems like a pretty even.
We got 8 billion more of them. There's plenty of them. So don't worry.
So like, there's like tons of these guys around here, but like, I feel like inside baseball, like I'm watching these guys and I know the whole routine of how it works. And I'm like, this guy, the first relapse he has because he gets in an argument with his girlfriend, he's going to go out and just go nuts. And so I feel pretty strong about this prediction. I do. I think I'm going to be right about it.
You know, when you gave me yours, I'm like, that's good. That's good. Let's see. Okay, so let's move to the Jews.
Let's go to Dan's, the Heeb. What is the Heeb?
The Jews' predictions for 2024. So,
bro, look at that picture. You fucking.
So
you literally found the worst photo of Jack that you could find, and look at that.
When there are multiple stories coming out that a celebrity has been seen in public for the first time in X month, you know there's trouble.
It's a strong choice.
The dude's 86. Okay,
bro.
Just like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman looks way better than this guy, though.
Yeah, it's true, though. Man,
he is looking rough.
Fuck, bro! Look at that picture. What? Yeah, he is. He is definitely at death's door. I mean, look at that, bro.
Yeah.
My mom used to say he's got 1 foot in the grave. Look at him.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
bro.
Anytime you're over 85, of course, you know, anyone over 85 is technically at death's door. I mean, statistically, but I don't know, man. I mean, you know, he's probably lived a pretty hard life. You know, he's had some fun. He's been out of the public eye for a while.
Yeah, that's another thing you can tell. When he stopped showing up at like NBA games courtside, and he sort of keeps a little private because he's looking bad. It's the end is near. And bro, I have a feeling this guy still, like, of course he partied his whole life and he never, he never got clean and sober. Not that he has to. I think he's just like a regular dude who likes to party. But I think this guy, I get the sense that this guy still will do some line bumps in the bathroom every now and again. Like
that'll catch up with you at 86.
Oh, fuck. And the guy smokes cigars and cigs and I'm sure he's drinking like whiskey. Like the guy, he's probably still got hooas and all this. Like it's still going on at 86.
Okay, so
and it's not going to.
So speaking of clean and sober.
Wow.
I'm going purely on age here. He's 90. He looks like a skeleton.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I know weed doesn't really necessarily fuck with your lifespan, maybe other than your lungs.
It's carcinogens, and he's old school. He smokes joints.
Right. So
that's carcinogens.
He's not doing gummies. He's
no.
doing
this
joints.
Motherfucker doesn't know what a vape is. Never does it.
No.
He smokes joints.
Yes. So I'm just playing the odds. I mean, like 90. Anytime you're over 90, you
strong.
Got 50, you
strong
literally
choice.
Fall over and die. So he's just Jimmy Buffett just dies. It sort of feels like he's the next in that kind of general genre.
Yeah, I'm feeling him.
Kind of boomer acoustic rock. You know,
it's time.
Don't get me started on Jimmy Buffett. All right, so
I'm so glad he's dead. I mean, that is just the worst subculture.
He did a lot of great things for echoes for manatees and like Florida, like echo stuff. So I like that. I won't shit on him too much. I like the guy, right?
I feel bad that I feel bad that you said
the man I respect, but the music I can't.
I'm not glad he's dead. I take that back.
I can't. I'm glad the music is not happening anymore. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's like a Jimmy Buffett cover band out there you can go see in Florida at any time you want. There's a bar. I'm sure there's a bar called Margaritaville. You can go there and fucking.
Yeah, it's a chain. They have restaurants everywhere. Yeah. Anyway.
Gross.
I know. Okay, so this is another one purely
wow.
just rolling the dice. She's 92.
Oof.
Old Jeannie. Remember this when we were kids?
Bro, I loved watching this show, and I would get my first hard-ons watching her in that bottle.
Yeah. Dice has a whole shtick about this. He goes, the problem is Petticoat Junction came on after Jeannie. So sometimes I didn't have time to revive to joke off. Yeah. Yes.
Right. Although this is she's got more spankable material than Petticoat Junction. I mean, this was great when she was young and in that bottle. Yeah. And you know what? I remember her outfit. She showed midriff, and not a lot of chicks showed midriff back then.
Bikini, with JR.
And we're like, just fapping furiously to fucking Barbara Eden.
We were kids, but it's weird to think she's 92. Like, I guess she was a little older when she did that series. She wasn't like 23. She might have been in her 30s. So
side note, did you see Dolly Parton in that last football game, the Super Bowl?
Awful. Cringe.
Yeah, but she did. I would though. Still though.
Yeah.
I would.
God,
I would.
The worst. Okay, so I'm gonna get to my young one.
Yeah. Who do you pick?
Ironically, you've already mentioned him. So
I know
he's in your head. So I'm going with Charlie. I'm a fan. I like
you
Charlie.
are. I hate the guy.
Why?
I hate his fucking show. I hate his sense of humor. I like his early work. I really like his. Wasn't he in Red Dawn? He's one of the best movies of all time, which is Red Dawn. So props. And Wall Street's good and stuff. But tell me what's going on with Charlie Sheen. Why'd you pick him?
I like Charlie. Well, what's going on? There's always something going on. Like he's on my radar because I just watched. It's a new series on HBO called Bookie.
Yeah,
recommended. It's pretty good. So Charlie guest stars in it a couple times, and he just he's only 8 years older than me, right?
Wow.
He just you can tell his teeth are bad, and he just seems really old. Like he presents much older. So look, he's kind of like the Keith Richards kind of guy where you always expect to see that he died, but he just doesn't die. So I don't hope for. I'm a fan. I hope it doesn't happen. But I mean, he's not. Bam Margera is better. Like you have a better shot of winning this.
Well, the thing about this guy is, I remember that thing was it 10 years ago? He was completely all over the news, and Howard was making fun of him every day.
Yeah.
And those were amazing videos where he would just winning, like that whole thing. Yeah. That was amazing. And I watched that thing, and I'm like, this dude. It was the same sort of Bam Margera vibe, where he was doing these crazy, he was clearly on coke, on camera, didn't give a fuck, almost like pushed it in your face, like I could do what I want. And again, I don't know what his status is now, I don't think he's clean and sober, but he's not doing it on television anymore. But I think this guy, it's catching up with him. All the blow, all the drugs, he's circling, he's strong pick. I think there's no way this guy
better, but either of these guys could totally do it. So those are our celebrity deaths. I want to move
pretty strong.
I'm going to move on to our next prediction. So, Black Swan event.
Okay, Dan. Explain to me and all our listeners, what is a black swan event? I honestly don't know. I've heard it tossed around, but tell me what it is.
A black swan event is an occurrence that a major earth-shaking occurrence that no one can predict or is prepared for. So
Why do they call it black swan? Like, what's the reference? Because a black swan is like super rare. Like, what is like trying to?
Yeah, I guess that's it. I haven't thought about that part of it. I guess you're probably right. Yeah, but
Go
so
ahead.
like something like 9/11, something like COVID-19. You know,
Right.
Something like that. Like we're not talking about a hurricane or something that you could sort of that you know is going to happen and is likely to happen. We're talking about a major, like a terrorist attack or
Something big out of left field that no one saw coming, and it just
right.
it dominates the news. Like, so like 9/11 is a black swan event.
I would think so. Yeah, 9/11's one, and then
What
definitely
else would
COVID for 100% COVID. That's like
Yeah.
your perfect. That's your perfect example because that came like we're pretty sure now it came from a lab and it came out of nowhere and no one expected it. And what do we do? Even though we've had pandemics before, right? And we've had bad ones. Actually, I was researching this recently. I found it interesting. There was a pretty bad one in 1968. So you would have been just a baby.
I was born in 1968.
It was a pretty bad one in 1968. It was called Hong Kong flu. That's what they called it. And my dad got it. He was telling me about it. And he said it was a little different than the COVID one because it didn't kill as many people, but it was more indiscriminate. It wasn't like majority people over 75.
Yeah.
This was like you could die of it at 40. It didn't kill, I think it killed 1 million, something like that. Like it was a lot.
Wow.
It wasn't like we had a lower world population then. So I would say it wasn't as bad as COVID, but it was bad. But what's interesting is it lasted a couple of years because that's what they do. They last a couple of years. You know what happened in 1969?
What?
Woodstock.
Yeah.
Think about that. It's pretty crazy.
So
back then, this was like not even on the radar. I mean, it was like, hey, this exists, but it wasn't like what we.
It probably wasn't on the news. I mean, I've never heard of it.
I know, right? But like if you go back and you say, look at all pandemics over like the last century. Obviously, the worst one was the 1912 or whatever it was, the Spanish flu, what they call it. It was in the early 1900s.
Okay.
Well, you go back further than that, you get but the Spanish flu was the really, really bad one. And then the next bad one was the 1968 Hong Kong flu. I was like, my dad knew about it because he's a doctor. Anyway, so black swan event, something crazy. Like so the last one we had would be COVID. That was 2020.
So you're asking, what do you think we're going to have?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. The whole idea of a black swan event, you can't predict it. So it could be anything. It could be a massive economic crash. Like I would say the 2008 crash, I would call it a black swan event, even though arguably it could have been predicted based on the policies that caused it. But it was so severe and major and was such a bad thing for so many people. I would probably call that a black swan event.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so
you have 9/11, you have 9/11, you have the economic crash 2008, and then you have COVID in 2020. I don't think there's anything in between there. So the question is,
well, I mean, you can't. So Katrina's not a black swan event. I mean, even though that was pretty fucking.
That's a tough one because hurricanes happen every year. So there's typically a Cat 5, maybe not every year, but almost every year. Like it may not hit land; it might just be a fish storm. I would not. Katrina's a tough one. I wouldn't.
Right on. That one's on the border. That one's close.
One. It's close, yeah.
So what do you think? Do we have one in 2024?
I think yes. Yes, I think there will be one. I do.
Tell me more about your feelings on.
I don't know if it's terrorist attack. I don't know if it's. I don't think it'll be another virus because I mean pandemics are only usually a couple times a century, like bad ones. So, it'll be something. It's always something different. That's the whole point, right? It's not anything you can predict. So the last time we had a major terrorist attack was 22 years ago, 23 years ago now almost. And so, I think there will be one. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but it just feels that way to me.
I mean, I was going to dovetail into what you just said, like it feels that way, right? So like we're human beings and we can think about things as far as facts and whatever, but there's also a feeling. And I feel like this year is going to be fucked. I 100%. I'm glad you explained to me what a Black Swan event was and clarified it as far as like 9/11 and all those things. Oh yeah, something is absolutely going to happen this year. It's going to be big, and it's going to like, holy shit. Is that me?
Yeah, that's poor.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
poor. Hello.
Dude.
Do you like to please?
You know what? Yeah, this
Would
is
you like a
terrible.
car?
It's
Would you like a car
definitely.
warranty? Would you like a car warranty, sir?
Excuse me,
Oops.
but I definitely think there's going to be some sort of Black Swan event. I mean,
we both agree. We're 2 for 2 on that. We both think it's going to be that. So
Yeah.
if you had to posit a guess, so
ooh,
do you think it's, cause you can have a natural disaster? I mean, I would think a tsunami could be one, because those don't happen very frequently. It can't really be predicted. Those just happen. Whereas hurricanes, you're going to get hurricanes. So if you're going to, what are categories of Black Swan events? Would be something natural, something naturally occurring, or something not naturally occurring, like a terrorist attack. You can argue COVID. It just depends on where you think it came. But I'm going to guess that this one is not naturally occurring. I think something happens. It's not a weather event. That's my prediction. Something.
I mean, 100%. I think it could be. Excuse me. I think it could be like socioeconomic, like, something. I think personally it could also be natural. I think what do they call it? The Yellowstone super caldera is long overdue.
It's a good one. Yeah,
that's a good one. Like a massive earthquake, and of course it could roll into something else, right? Like you could have a bad earthquake and it's like a volcano or a super caldera eruption, which could then trigger some socioeconomic problems and some conflicts with people and resources that are not available to people. And because that was the whole thing with that kind of blew me away with Katrina. When I was watching Katrina, and I'm like, okay, it's a hurricane. They happen all the time. And yes, it flooded New Orleans and stuff like that. You're like, okay. But really what was interesting is I watched it happen like these things that happen, I watch on TV. Like I love watching things on TV when they're happening in real time, like the car chases I told you about last week, right? So, during that Katrina thing, I was watching the news reports on the live feeds and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, they're putting all these people into the Superdome? Is that a good idea? And like, it just like more and more problems started. And I was like watching that going, holy shit. The government, who we, will trust, will take care of us in an emergency, they suck at that. And I was like, I pictured myself down there. I pictured myself down there in Katrina.
You would not have been going to the Superdome.
No, absolutely not. I would have made a raft out of items around the house. And my ass would have been paddling out there I swear to God, I'm not even lying. Like, excuse me, Bruce, you and gather your things. We're going to the Superdome. Absolutely not. I don't trust you guys with that. I don't, I'm going to paddle my way out, and I've got my go bag, and I'll just fucking take it on. You know what? I'd rather be on my own, I think something's going to, I don't know what
Katrina
it is.
Is a great example of what you just said, which is the issue wasn't the hurricane per se. Right?
No, it wasn't.
The issue was twofold. It was extreme poverty, right? It was a major socioeconomic imbalance in that area, combined with government ineptitude
and bad infrastructure, corruption in government,
right?
And people not giving a shit about poor people.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, me. I mean, my number one conspiracy theory in the world is that the number one issue that if you just narrow down what's the problems we have, if you were to distill it all down to one thing, it's poverty. It always lands on poverty at some point, right? You pick any issue, and at some point it lands on people not having health care, people not having food to eat, people not being able to make ends meet. That's where it lands. And so, but one of the reasons you never hear about poverty, and it's something that, like, when you hear people on the news, like your talking heads yammering, what are they yammering about now? Pronouns, and they're going to trans your toddler. Oh, you better write your school board. Like, they're coming up with every dumb shit for you to yell at your neighbor about, other than poverty. Like, and it's amazing to me that you can live somewhere and where you have high levels of poverty and it never gets mentioned. It's just not mentioned. They don't say, well, we got a really bad poverty problem. We got to do something about it. They don't even mention it. It doesn't come up. It's amazing to me. Like, there are certain cities, Buffalo, New York is one of them, where they have a child poverty rate of almost 50%, 50.
I mean, and
the national average is like 12.
Yeah, so, it's unacceptable. And like no health care and
healthcare is a whole other thing, but they all go together. They all go together, right? We live in a place without universal healthcare, but you have these areas with these huge high. If I lived in a place like Buffalo, New York, I'd be like, I don't want to hear about any other issues. I don't want to hear about you getting rid of statues because they're racist. I want to hear about child poverty, because 50% of the kids here live in poverty, and it's not fucking acceptable.
Yeah.
Period. But
I think you could synonym. I mean, look, those other issues are important too, but you're right. Like, they don't mention the poverty, and I tend to agree with you on that. I think it's more. They
use those issues to keep people screaming and yelling about other shit, because the owner, as Carlin would say, the owners of this country, the real owners, they don't want us uniting on class lines. They don't want the poor working class people of all stripes, whether they be red, blue, whatever the hell your politics are. It's working, sadly. Like, people fall for that shit. Like, I see that shit, I'm like, give me a break. 50% child poverty, shut up. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're right. I mean, I do feel strongly about some of those issues about, the gay rights issue and trans issues
like that. Of course, I'm not saying they're not important. They're very important. I agree with you on all of those things, but they are used by the corporate
and
media.
I would also argue that, like, I'm starting to, like, the last couple of years, I'm starting to just really fucking loathe capitalism, like, as a system. Like, I don't think it's working. I think it worked for a little while. It's not working now. I think all human beings should be taken care of. And I think we have the power and the infrastructure to do it. But like what you're talking about, the ruling class is never going to allow it.
No, they want war. They want wars.
And it's like this kind of greed. Like, I don't understand this extreme greed as a human nature. It makes me think like there's something wrong with a person. Like, in other words, if someone was studying, monkeys, right? And they had a bunch of monkeys, and like they threw a bunch of bananas in, and there was one monkey who took all the bananas and hoarded them to himself, and no one else could have bananas, and he just did what he could to make sure no one else had bananas. They would study that monkey, like, what is wrong with him? Like, that doesn't seem right. But here, if it's a human, we think that guy's a genius. We think he's fucking great. He's Elon Musk. He's fucking Jeff Bezos. They got all the good, and it's just kind of like, and of course, like a little thing, like, Amazon Prime, they're raising their rates by $3 to be Amazon Prime, because they're going to give you commercials now on their movies, right? Prime, they're going to put all commercials. Guess what? Commercials now. Yeah, but if you pay an additional $3, you don't get commercials. And I'm thinking to myself, why would they do that? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, do you not have enough money? You're going to squeeze $3. Like, why would you? It just astounds me that happens.
The whole idea of this extreme greed, in my mind, really hit its stride probably 20, 25 years ago, when you started seeing mass offshoring of jobs, sending them overseas.
Oh yeah.
Now you have AI, right? And they can't think ahead, because if you create an absolutely enormous underclass, which we've already done. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's here.
Look at LA, San Francisco, areas with large homeless populations. You've basically moved everyone down. The people who used to be able to get like your service jobs, they can't get now. Everyone's pushed down a rung, because there aren't enough living wage jobs. I see this all the time with my friends' kids who are in their 20s and how hard it is now compared to what it was for us when we were in our 20s. So. And they just can't. It's crazy to me that they can't see that you're creating a huge underclass, and the end game for that is you're not going to have anyone to buy your fucking products, because you have only X% of the public making a living wage. So what happens to the other people? And it's crazy. They don't see it. They don't. They're always.
No, they don't. And you're absolutely right. Like, they sort of need this consumer class to buy their goods and to work and to be the gears, the cogs in the machine, right? They sort of need all that. I mean, look, that's why I think for the Black Swan event could be socioeconomic, because there is a growing swelling amongst young people, like you were talking about. I wind up talking to a lot of young people. I do. I'm curious. I'm like, because, we're Gen X. We've had it a little bit better than them, a lot better than them, arguably. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So things are so fucking bad for them. And I go, hey, man, how much do you get paid? I ask questions. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, how much, if you don't mind, how much do you get paid? How much is your rent? Do you know, whatever. And people are just fucking, they're doing so badly right now. And there's this weird desperation, this weird like fatalism that they have, which I totally understand. These young people are not saving for retirement because they don't have money for retirement.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about their credit score, because why would I ever have a credit score? I'm not going to be able to buy a car or a house ever.
Mm-hmm.
So they sort of have given up on the future in its entirety, and they're just going to live here for now. That's why all these boomers are like, you should stop buying your coffee and stuff like this. And their argument is, it's the one fucking piece of joy in my whole life to have a fucking coffee. So I'm going to do it. Like me cutting back on coffee is not going to make it so I can afford to live. I don't get paid a living wage. So things are really bad. And people are absolutely rejecting the society that we live in as a whole. And it's not working. People are going to live in their vans, or they're living in cars. Such a huge movement right now. People are just done. And there is like a talk, I'm on TikTok all the time. There's a lot of young people talking about, guess what? I'm not paying taxes in 2024, right? And it's this movement that's starting. Now, of course, me and you think, oh, you're going to get in trouble if you don't pay your taxes.
Not if there's millions of them. I mean,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Just the same way. Okay. The same way you were talking about voting third party, it takes a few people to start doing it in order to work, and it's got to start rolling it. That's exactly the same mentality that they're talking about. Hey, guess what? None of us are paying our taxes. We don't, fuck it. We don't, and we're not paying back our student loans. We're not paying our taxes. We're not going to buy shit. We're done. We don't give a fuck about credit scores, retiring, nothing. And so there's this definite, palpable, vibe going on in the United States right now, that when you talk about Black Swan event, I'm like,
over. I don't know if it'll happen in 24. It's going to boil over. You're creating too many people who are fucked, who have very little.
They're getting angry,
You can only do the learn to code shit enough, as okay, learn to code. Guess what? They're going to fucking send your job to India anyway. So it's. I don't know, man.
Dude, and the AI thing is super bad right now. As you know, I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist, right? So I'm on Facebook and stuff, and it's just insane. They're making these AI ads and stuff by Tom, and it boils my blood. I mean, we had a segment called "What's Annoying the Goy" this week, but it's just driving me nuts, because as if we can use technology to it would be nice if we could use technology to, I don't know, help us improve our lives a little bit. No, let's, what we're going to do? Fuck the artists, because they don't have it hard enough. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And musicians, they're coming out with AI music now. I don't know if you heard this or not. It's fucking
I've seen
great.
it on YouTube. It's just weird to me. Like they take
super weird
a song like "What if AC/DC did Staying
Dude,
Alive?"
and it cranks it out, and it's terrible. And the AI art is terrible because they all have like 8 fingers and stuff. It's easy to tell. But like, who happens to be a writer? Like, nobody writes anymore. You can have
writing,
AI.
You're in trouble. Yeah,
you're in trouble. Imagine if you're a writer. So it's like,
I'm glad
oh
I'm
my
old,
god,
man. I'm glad I'm old. That's all I can say. I mean,
dude, you know what? I'm glad I'm old too.
Look, AI, I'm not against it. I think it could be used for great shit. But the problem is greed comes in and is like, wait a minute, we can use this and fire, 27,000 people. And it's I don't know, man. I'm glad I'm old. How's that?
And so, things are not looking good for 2024. They really aren't, So I don't know. And like the whole thing about being a prepper and getting ready for that, to an extent, but there's also part of me that's like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, just what happens, happens.
So I hope this goes into my next thing. I want to do predictions for us personally.
Oh,
so
no.
We're gonna start with you.
I was not warned.
Okay. So
all right. I was not told in advance.
I did. I told you. I said.
You did?
Have one personal thing. I told you mine too. You forgot.
So this says on the screen, Goy's manual labor Any injuries? So
Okay,
what is this?
So we know that you end up doing a lot of manual labor, digging holes
Oh, around the house, right,
around the house, go dig a hole, go bury this post,
Yeah,
go smelt me some lead, whatever it is,
right.
right? And I know you already hurt your knee. I know you
I
got a
did.
bad knee. You got a bum knee. So I'm predicting another injury this year. I think the powers that be determined that you guys need to have new siding or something, and
Yeah.
you're up on that ladder and
Oh my God. Oh my God.
reaching to put that up. You're gonna take that
Yeah.
impact drive. You're taking that impact driver and you're gonna nail it. You're gonna get that Phillips in
So, okay.
there.
So let me just tell the audience that Dan is making fun of me right now because, when Dan needs something done around the house, he hires a guy. He has a guy,
Well,
pays him a lot of
not
money
all
and
the
does it
time. Yes, not
all the
all the
time.
time.
Dan does nothing.
No,
Yeah,
that's not true.
so but when we do something around our house, it's like, oh, we're going to do it ourselves. Me and the better half. The better half is decide,
Right.
and like we're going to save money and do it ourselves, which is fine. I mean, it's the way we live our lives, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I definitely fucked up my knee by I hit the deck at a gas station. It wasn't work around the house related, but I got a fucking torn meniscus that I'm dealing with right now. And I'm going to have to get surgery and all that type of shit. And yes, it is true that we have like chore day around the house. We do something around the house. It involves, digging up trees and doing manual labor. Dan's right.
I want a trench dug from
here
to the corner.
But I will tell you, as time goes on around here, it's like, and on both, me and my partners, like, look, we are. I don't want to do that. We're not doing that. Like the siding, you brought up the siding of the house.
Yeah,
it is getting fucked up. And like, about 10 years ago, it would be like, oh, we need to do the siding of the house. Let's get the paint scraper out and the ladder and all that.
Right.
It's definitely changing around here. We're like, you know what? Fuck that. We're gonna hire a guy. We're gonna hire a guy. Yeah, I know. Surprised, right?
Yeah,
surprised. But
that's a black swan event right there.
But the little things we're still doing. Like, in other words, here a good example: the dishwasher broke. Our dishwasher broke about 2 months ago. We're not paying for a new dishwasher. We're not paying for someone to fix it. I do the dishes now by hand. That's what's happening around.
Dude, dishwashers are cheap. It's like some appliances are expensive.
We don't care, Dan.
Not dishwashers.
Well, you know why? Because primarily is, and I am 100% involved in this decision.
Water.
I don't want a motherfucker in the house. I don't want anybody in the house. Yeah, they are. If the guy comes with a dishwasher, they got to fucking put it in and install it.
No, they can drop it in a box. You can install it yourself. They're not hard.
But then it's, what? I'd rather just do the dishes by hand. It's calming. I like doing the dishes by hand. It's wonderful.
All right.
But are there going to be any?
No, I don't mean that. I mean you're gonna be digging a trench. You're gonna be out there setting some concrete. Something.
Oh my God!
I'm predicting a back injury in 20.
Oh, that's probably pretty close.
I'm not hoping for it, but
I hope not either, my friend.
This shade needs to be lowered. Hold on.
Yeah, you're glowing. I look very much like, okay, there you go. So, okay, are there going to be any injuries for me this year? I would say yes, but they're probably not going to be working around the house related. They're going to be fucking nonsense. It's going to be me dancing at a rave at 55, right?
True.
It's I can see that shit happening.
Well, I'm not counting that. I'm predicting an injury from manual labor. I'm predicting it.
No, it's not gonna. You're wrong. I'm not gonna do it because look. I'm using the knee now.
You got to be honest. At the end
I'm gonna be honest. I will.
Okay.
I'm very honest. I'm using the knee as like, oh, my knee hurts. I'm not doing that.
Okay. So
what's your thing?
Mine will be all right. So let me preface this. Okay.
Yes. Tell the audience about this.
Next year is my 20th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Now, yes. So. We never really had a honeymoon or anything like that. We got married at the courthouse, like nothing fancy. And so we said, let's do something really, really good. So we plan this vacation. It's to Baja, California, Mexico.
Right.
The Sea of Cortez, where in the winter, spring months, you can see whales and calves, the baby whales. And they're interactive, and you're on a boat of 100 people. It's like a cruise kind of, but it's an echo thing. It's not like a cruise. You're on a boat of 100 people, and then you get on these littler boat called a Zodiac, and it goes around.
I know what a Zodiac is. I'm a fisherman's son. That thing's filled with air.
Okay. So very exciting because we love us some wildlife and all that. And it's only 100
Absolutely.
people, only 100 people on the ship. Very, not trying to be a dick, but very, very, very expensive. I saved for a long time for this one. Saved for, have not been on a vacation in a long time. Saved a lot
Not
of
trying
money.
to be a dick. Right.
Saved a lot of money.
Right.
Like,
Well, it's 20th anniversary. Why not?
This is a biggie.
You know?
This is a biggie. And
Yeah,
I'm very
good for
excited
you.
about it. This is when we're seeing you. This is en route to there.
Right.
We're seeing
right.
you.
I am going to stop and see Dan.
So what's going to happen? 100%.
Oh my God. 100%.
So, okay, bear in mind, this is I'm not going to give you numbers, but it's an extremely, extremely expensive ticket. And there's only 100 people on the boat.
And you would think that those people also, that they paid a lot of money as well.
That they saved and they realized, and they're not going to do something stupid like bring a 3-year-old, right? Because a 3-year-old costs money too. But I know that it will happen. It will happen. I will be sitting with my cup of coffee on the deck, watching the whales, and there will be
Dan will be wanting to just like take in the serene sounds.
Mm-hmm.
He paid a lot of money to just like the ocean and the whales and stuff. And they're going, Mommy, where's my blanket? Let me just, I got to tell the audience something. What they don't know is that Dan went to the Galapagos Island a little while ago, a couple years
11 years ago.
Yeah, he goes to the Galapagos Island. And it was the same type of thing. Like me and Dan don't like kids. I'm sorry, we just don't. We don't like them. No. So when Dan and his wife go to the Galapagos Island, it was the same fucking thing. Cost a boatload of money to go to the Galapagos Island, wait list, the whole fucking thing. And Dan is thinking like, this is going to be great. We're going to go see the turtles and all this stuff. And there's not going to be any kids there because Dan thinks that, the more money he pays from it, there's not going to be someone that brings kids. Why would
somebody pay this kind of money to bring a small child on a trip like that?
Because fucking people, they're a problem, Dan. They're absolutely, because they got to bring their little Aeson along and give him life experiences, even though it makes no sense. They're not going to remember it. People love their little kids, and we don't understand it because we're fucking weird. I guess we're the weird ones.
I don't think it's weird to say that, look, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old is not going to appreciate this trip. Why would you spend the kind of money it would cost to bring them when you can leave them at home with grandma?
I disagree. I disagree. Most people have a different mindset than me and you. Me and you are the outliers here. Me and you think that. Most people, the majority of people will think, oh, you know what? Let's go to the Galapagos Island or see a Cortez. And you know what? Let's bring little Aeson along. He's 4, but this will give him lifetime memories. He'll always remember.
Do these people not realize? I mean, we're not talking about a 12-year-old. Fine. I don't like it, but I get it. The 12-year-old can appreciate it.
But they love their little kid. They don't care, Dan. You're absolutely, Dan, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you. You are absolutely going to run into kids on this fucking thing.
No, I know I am. There's 100 people on the ship. Okay. So we're going to predict. Okay. And
that's a good number, 100. So you can go percentage. Oh, that's good.
There's 100 passengers. And I'm one and the wife's another. That's 2. So there's 98 other people. 98 other people. So my question is, and again, I don't fault someone for bringing their kid. The kid's 9 or 10 or 11, and okay, when I was that age, I could totally have been into this, right?
Yeah, if I had rich parents and they brought me and I had an experience like that,
I mean, money out of it. I just mean I'm not going to assume every child is bad and doesn't care and is not. But there will be ones that are either A, too young, where it doesn't, even if you're well behaved, it's like, why would you bring that kid?
Why would you bring the kid? Yeah.
Right. Or B, not too young, but obnoxious as shit and entitled. In the Galapagos, I ran into that where you had kids who were old enough to know better, who were 12.
I have to interrupt. It's the funniest thing. Dan was in the Galapagos Island and he's texting me. He's in the Galapagos Island, and Dan has the same sickness that I do, where like, I like to focus on shit that annoys me. It's a total sickness. You have it. I have it. And on some level, maybe we like being annoyed because we will focus on it. So Dan's in the Galapagos Island and he texts me, he goes, oh my God, someone brought a 5-year-old. So there's a fucking 5-year-old here in the Galapagos Island. I'm like, well, that's nice. Enjoy your trip. No. Everywhere Dan goes, he's not looking at the whales. He's looking at the 5-year-old kid, oh my God, do you know he's fucking screaming right now. And I'm like, are there any turtles to look at? Yeah, there's this fucking kid. And he focused his entire time texting me about the kid and how much it annoyed him. And let me tell you something. I got caught up in it. Hey, Dan, have you seen the kid? Is he fucking annoying? Yeah, he's still fucking here. And there are long text conversations about this kid. So
the worst for me was not just the young and obnoxious ones, but the older ones with like $2,000 worth of camera equipment, just entitled sort of rich kids with their who went with their grandparents. Look, I can tell the difference, right? If there's a kid there and he's 12 and he's having a good time, he's really into it. Great, super.
And I'm with you. God bless that kid.
I got no problem with that.
He's having experience. He might grow up to be a conservative, some sort of like a whale expert. Good for him.
Right. But you know what we're talking. We're not talking about that. So
no, we're not talking about
98 that. Other people. The question is, how many kids either fall into one of two categories? Either too young, where it doesn't matter if they're well behaved. Even if you, why are you bringing a 3-year-old?
It's too young. Shouldn't be there.
Why are you bringing a 3-year-old?
Shouldn't be here.
This is an active vacation. Like you're on and off and on and running around. And here's a whale. Here's a dolphin,
oh my God.
Whatever. So, how many total between too young and also combined with obnoxious / entitled?
All right, let me think. I can pick a number, and I'm going to, but I'm also going to pick the way I pick the number is like me and Dan have bad luck on this thing. Like we seem to attract, since we don't want them there, they're going to be there. So dude, there's going to be fucking 7 of them. You're going to have to deal with 7. There's going to be like 3 young kids and 4 older kids. They're all going to annoy you. I'm going to get texts about them. And, your wife is going to be like, oh my God, Dan, can you just shut up? Can we just like stop focusing on that family?
It drives her insane. And I don't blame her. She's right. Yeah. She's absolutely right. This is unhealthy. And she gets it. She knows that on some creepy level, I enjoy being annoyed.
I know it's the weirdest thing.
It's terrible. It's complete mental illness. I know.
I'm working on it. I mean, I'm working. I try to work on it. Like I go into a restaurant now with Ro, and there's something annoying me in the corner, like this family that I'm focusing on. It just happened last night with Chinese food. And I was like, fuck. And so Ro saw me looking, and I reined it in, bro. I reined in the hate. And I was like, dude, no, fucking let it. It's just a family with a child. They're misbehaving. Fine. Why don't you focus on your shrimp, your Kung Pao shrimp? Focus on the Kung Pao shrimp. It's fucking delicious. The hell with that. So you're going to have the same thing. I predict, bro, 7 of them. You're going to have 7 ASINs that you are not. So that's my prediction. What do you predict?
So you know what? I'm going to turn over a new leaf and be an optimist. And I'm going to say fewer than that. I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 5. And I'm going to discriminate. Like, in other words, I'm going to give the kid every benefit of the doubt. That if number one, if you're over the age, what would you say? Over the age of like 8, something like that, 7, 8.
So the age of being too young to be there and you shouldn't be there, and old enough to where you're going to be like, the age is 7.
Okay. So if you're over 7, I'm going to give you every benefit of the doubt. I know you're a kid. You might be a little annoying here and there, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But if you continue your bullshit, then you make the lists. But yeah, so I'm going to say a total of 5. I'm going to say 2 kids under the age of 6. And then 3 obnoxious birds. And I hope, I think you're going to be right, but I'm going to try to be optimistic.
Oh my God.
This trip happens soon. We leave, I think, February 9th or something like that. So.
Dude, and I wish the audience could have been around for the fucking the Galapagos Island thing. It was a gold mine of material. It was a gold mine. My phone was just blowing up, and Dan is like this fucking kid. And I'm thinking, Dan is like, he'll never go back to the Galapagos. Like, it was so funny. Like, he's on the Galapagos Island. But like, he's seeing the most amazing natural things, and they're right over the boat, but he can't enjoy them because there's a fucking kid there. Yeah. And it was so great. Like
the only time I was in complete happiness where I didn't have to worry about it is when you're doing your snorkeling, because you would snorkel not every day, but almost every day. And it was the waters were very cold. You had to wear a wetsuit. Like, it's like 69 degrees. Like it's cold. You're in a wetsuit. So you can't send little kids doing that. So and then the wife and I could do our own thing, and because the animals in Galapagos are not afraid of human beings, so they'll come right up to you.
Oh my God!
And that it was amazing. Like it was. I'll never have a trip better than that. But yes, in certain circumstances, I would say 15% of the trip I completely fixated.
No, it was way more than fucking 15%. It was way more. It was easily 50%. The amount of texts that I were getting. It was fucking great. It was so fucking funny. And I was just picturing you out there. I'm like, this fucking guy is out there. But by the way, it's not like I'm making fun of you because I fucking related so much. Like if I'm on that boat too, I'm like, if I should be lucky enough to go to the Galapagos Island and there was a kid there, I throw the fucking kid over the boat. I'll fucking throw him right over the boat. I don't know where he went. Sorry.
Well, this time around, I'll be able to do much better because it's in Mexico, which means I'll have I should have good cell service. I'm going to document every little thing that annoys me, in addition to the good things, but also the things that annoy me. What I'll do is when I come back, we do our episode after. I'll have a whole show and tell of Asen and the screaming and the whining. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep,
that's good stuff.
It's coming up though, a month away. It's almost here. So
so that's coming up. I know that I am personally coming up on. I'm leaving for 10 days to go out to Slab City, Salton Sea. I go out to the desert and make art, and so the podcast is probably not going to happen for 10 days. You're probably not going to do the podcast when you go to, this is not going to happen, whatever.
Well, I mean, if I have if the data out there is pretty good, I'll do a little quickie episode like from the Sea of Cortez. It'd be fun.
Oh my God. I could picture the background. Like you're sitting on the boat and the background's serene. And then like right where that cabinet is, little kid running around. And you're like,
no. I thought about this. So we sprung for the cabin with like the deck on the outside, a private little deck where you can sit and overlook the ocean, and no one can come there. So like,
but what if the deck that's right next to yours has that little separation wall? And you could see what I'm talking about. Their hands are on the rail.
Yeah.
So they'll literally be 5 feet away from you, screaming, "Honey, get away! Honey, get away from the rail! Get away from the rail!" And Dad's in there like,
I'm praying
Fuck.
he jumps. Meanwhile,
you're like, "Oh, please jump! Please go in the dark depths and never to return." So just. Splash, somebody help me. Like you're the only, how about this? You're out there and you see him fall in and you're not going really fast or anything. So there's a chance that he survives. He falls in, right? And you don't it's like a TV show. You don't fucking say anything. You have that quick moment of like, oh my God, I could say something and save the kid, or I could just shut up about it and just let nature take its course.
You know what I would do? You know what I would do? I would both report it and I would say, I don't know where the hell these kids' parents are. I would totally.
Ooh, I like that.
I would shame the parents, but I would also report it.
So you would take that opportunity to shame their parents in their darkest time.
Correct.
I love it.
You did this. The kid's 5.
You did. You know what? Why would you bring the kid? Why would you bring the fucking kid?
Forget bringing him. Why would you ignore him and let him out on the railing? Like, what are you thinking?
Oh my God.
Play shitty games, win shitty prizes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Would your parents have ever let you do that when you were 5? Even if you went on a vacation like this?
I mean, no. She would look. I mean, look.
I was always.
We were raised a different way. Like, look, we were raised a different way. Like, if I was in the food store, the grocery store with my mom and my parents pushing down the thing, and if I were to try to grab something without her permission, grab the box of cereal, like Count Chocula, put that back on the shelf. Like, there's no, you don't fucking like chill. Like, it was just like, I don't want to be too boomerish about it, but it was a different existence. Like, like the day, like I told you about the bagel story. What kind of cream cheese do you want?
Do you want
this? Do you want this? No. I'd be down there and be like, get him a cream,
cheddar, get him jalapeno cheddar.
She would order for me. Like, get a bagel. You just shut up. You'll have a bagel. Now, look, I get it that it's good to give kids a voice now, and because they have wants and needs.
A voice is one thing. You should keep an eye on.
To an extent.
Keep an eye on the kid. That's all I ask.
To an extent. At the Chinese food yesterday, I'm going to get, fuck it, I'm talking about. There's this big ass family. Go to the Chinese food place. Ro and I have this great tradition where we get a load of Chinese food.
Set the scene. Is it takeout only, or is it a place you can eat in?
It's both. It's like one of these good. You would love this Chinese food restaurant because it's extremely New York City style Chinese food. It's like the greasy kind of good Chinese food.
They have table service, like waiters. Or
they do have tables. Yeah, they do.
Table service with a waiter, and where they bring you shit.
Right, and this place is good because there are actual Chinese people eating at the Chinese food restaurant, and it's great. Yeah, totally. That's good. I'm like one of the few white people in there. I'm like, this is what I want. I don't want to.
You're going there to get to go.
Exactly. So we're going there to get to go.
Do you call ahead or do you go there in order?
We called ahead, but we got there a little early, so we had to just sit there for 10 minutes while they make it.
Now they have your order and you're waiting for them to give it to you.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, we got to wait for a little while for them to fix it. And I'm fixating on there's only one white family in there, and it's a big white family, and they got a little kid running around that's got the little lights blinking on her shoes. You know what I mean? Kid's probably like 5, 6, and they're running around the table. And they're getting the stink eye. They're getting the stink eye from the Chinese waitstaff, rightly so, because it's rude. It's like they're kind of like, how, and this kid's going, mommy, 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 and the kids are, being ignored, whatever. So now I got to walk really, the tables are close, and I got to walk right past them to get to the food. It's time to go. Your order's up. So I go to get it, and I love it because they put everything in a big box so it doesn't tip. You have it. Ro and I ordered a disgustingly large amount of Chinese food because we like Chinese leftovers. It's a fun thing,
Sure, yeah.
So check 1, 2. Is your sound okay? Check 1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get a bunch, and we're walking past, and so Rose in front of me, she's walking past. The kid's got the sneakers on that are making lights, and she's swinging her legs like this. She's swinging her legs. Hey, mommy, right? Swinging her legs. So Ro walks past, like moving away so that the kid doesn't hit her. I take a different fucking tactic, Dan. I walked right into that.
I've done that. Yeah.
So like, and I made a production of it. Like, I'm like thinking, you know what? I'm not going to move.
You're trying to get the apology.
I'm like, fuck this whole, I'm going to fucking be a menace right now. I made the decision. So I walked right into this little girl's leg because she's swinging it in the way that I need to walk. And guess what? I'm the adult. You can fucking move, not me. And the kids' parents weren't paying attention. So the kid hits me right in the shin. It didn't hurt, but I go, ow! Right? And I was like, ow! And by the way, Ro knows exactly what's going on. She's like, I cannot believe he's taking this opportunity to be a menace. I'm like, no. I got time today. Ow! And I look down at the little girl.
100% do that. I want to create the scene that forces these people to be parents. Please,
right?
Can you please try and parent this child?
At least the fucking temporary. Kid swings. Oh my God, swings. It hits me, and I go, ow! And you know what? All they did was, you got to watch where you're going, dear. And that's it. That's all she got is watch where you're going, dear. No real true repercussions. I'm thinking, I'm just like, oh my God. I wanted to take those shoes off this little girl and throw them across the street. You know what I mean? Now, you know what? Fucking sit still. Still.
It's not the kid's fault. It's not the kid's fault. It's not.
I guess you're right. Those
are people who wanted a child and do not want to be parents.
I disagree. They didn't want a child. It just happened.
Even better.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? It just happened. You know what? Things happen. And you know what, Dan? Sometimes nature, sometimes the Lord provides us with things that we didn't know we wanted, and it just happened. So it's a lovely miracle. No, it's not. It's not a lovely miracle. It's a problem. You're in my way. Fucking move.
Yeah, I relate. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. Those are our predictions. We will have a wrap a year from now to see how right we were. And maybe we'll come up with a prize. Maybe we'll have a prize. Like you have to mail me some of that Chinese food or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think for the Heeb and Goy show, first day. Happy New Year to you, Dan. I'm not going to say happy because it's not going to be happy. May you have a tolerable New Year.
That's a good one.
Tolerable is the word we're going for.
Tolerable New Year. That's the best I can hope for.
Right?
Yeah.
Not going to be happy.
No shot of that. No.
Absolutely
all right, everyone.
not.
Enjoy your New Year's Day, and we'll see you in a week.
Later. Peace. Heeb and Goy. It's still recording. Heeb and Goy. These are the things we